Hey Abby. Alright, I went way over time last time, so I'm gonna do this real quick. Alright, serial killers, not new. They've been around since we've been around. It's a sensational thing when it happens. Usually they go in newspapers, but oddly enough, a lot of serial killers don't hit papers at all. They don't even get headlines, don't get news time, nothing. Usually the more heinous the crime, the more airtime they get. Okay. You know Thomas Harris, the author of the Hannibal Lecter series? Yeah. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah. Okay. Jack Crawford, one of the big characters, he was actually based off of two models. John Douglas and a colleague, Robert Ressler. Robert Ressler coined the term serial killer in early to mid-70s, and they are elites in the behavioral science unit at the Federal Bureau, FBI. Yeah, the discrepancy was the term serial murder was used in 1961 by a German author, critic, writer, person. And it was in a dictionary in 61. So people were like, he didn't really come up with it, but I'm like, F you, he totally did, because you know what? Hannibal Lecter series. The definition experts can't agree at all. Like, at all. Because, well, the FBI says it has to happen 3 more times, to be 3 more killings at different times, at different places. Okay, so you tell me you need 3 plus locations. What if a person goes and kidnaps, brings them back to one location, kills them off at the same spot? Yeah. But there has to be a cooling off time to separate it from, like, mass murder and killing spree. Yeah. It relates them to mad, like, people being all pissed off, or hitmen. That doesn't work. What else I have? Oh, it also doesn't consider the nature of the crime. A lot of experts think that the crime has to be sexually motivated. I don't think so, and neither does the FBI. Sorry, experts. Everyone says, hey, what a psycho. He's a psycho. There's even a movie called Psycho, a serial killer. Well, what kind of psycho? There's 2 kinds. There's a psychopath and someone who's psychotic. Psychotic, psychosis, that's dealing with paranoia, schizophrenia, delusions, complete loss of touch with reality and, what's real. Totally lose that. They're usually the ones that say, oh, I was hearing voices, it told me to do this, or that kind of thing. So, yeah. Yeah, they're legally insane. And psychopaths, on the other hand, technically are not. Because they know what's right, they know what's wrong, and they just don't give a shit. Because everyone around them, like, they're so selfish and egocentric, they don't, well, there's no compassion, nothing. Yeah, so they know what's right, what's wrong, so that makes them sane, legally sane. Technically. They usually have very high IQs. However, some don't, but the majority do. And usually very charming. You don't know when you're talking to a psychopath. They can keep it cool. They can often pass a polygraph test because they can control themselves. They don't feel guilt. Yeah, I'm usually known by my twisted desires. And, okay, I wanted to check this because I knew that the term psychopath was from German, but I wanted to double check. Because the Germans have so much to do with psychology. They did so much good. And in 1891, it was a German psychologist. Because before that, it was called morally insane, which doesn't make any sense because they they knew what was moral, what wasn't. I am so cold. I feel like a naked chihuahua. Alright, black versus white. When you look at, like, per capita type deal, we take the whole black population over the serial killer, like, black serial killers over entire black population in the United States, in relation to white serial killers over the white population in the United States, it's almost equal. The ratio isn't as big of a difference as people think it is. It just happens to be more white serial killers because there's more white people here. In South Africa, there's more black people, serial killers, more African American. No, not African, because they're in Africa. More black serial killers there. Depends on where the hell you are. Men versus women. Men are usually more aggressive and the crimes are more sexual in nature. This is not to say that women don't ever do crimes like the men do, but typically they're more ballsy. The women nurture to death. They're the ones that they poison a lot. It's like, get creative. Really? Yeah, traits of them. Single white men. Typical. In the United States, anyway. IQ is very high. But that's because the kill one or two timers get caught. Seriously, ask experts. So, like, yeah, he would have been a serial killer, but he was an idiot. They usually do poorly in school, become unskilled workers, because their social environments. They usually come from deeply troubled families. So usually they're abandoned by the fathers. That's very common, and having dominating mothers is very common. They develop a hatred for women and distrust for men. So, oh my god, I'm so cold. Yeah, psychiatric issues, criminal records, and history of alcohol abuse in the families are very common. Of course, abuse, sexual being the most common, where they are humiliated and learn helplessness. They have male authority figure issues because of the father leaving or abusing them. Because they don't like their mothers, because they're domineering, they develop hatred for women. They usually display psychological issues, at an early age. Like, yeah. It's because they hate people so much and they hate themselves, and they usually tend to be suicidal teenagers. Deviant sexuality, violent nature, fetishism, it's very common. And Freud, I have to mention him real quick. Love him. Psychoanalysis. Love it. He said that, like, adults can reflect on the past and see what made them that way. Like, we can look back at a serial killer's childhood and say, yeah, that's what effed him up. But you can't have a messed up child, like a child with a messed up life, and say, he's gonna be a serial killer, because one kid could turn out to be a social worker because of experience, while the kid had the same exact circumstances and life experiences could end up being a serial killer. Ted Bundy, social worker. That's what I love about serial killers, like, what made them that way? Like, what made them different from the social worker? From the guy that wanted to be a social worker because of his life, Oh my god. Oh, red flags, okay. They call them the psychopathological triad. Pyromania. Gotta watch out for Dan. That's a joke. Bedwetting, enuresis. Very common. Precocious sadism. That's torturing animals. Usually. Yep. Why do they do it? Profit? Mother hating? Hating women in general? Celebrity status. Some just want the feeling of, that feeling, that guy. A lot of them are copycats. They emulate other serial killers. Delusions. The devil told me to. Oh my god, I'm so cold. Fantasy fulfillment. A lot of them do it to feel like a god. They're playing God. They have people's lives in their hands. They like the feeling. Alright, so that's some background knowledge. Alright, I'm gonna talk about, individual killers soon.